right, welcome back in. 4:18 is the time from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. This is the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Final show of 2017. We'll be back on a Tuesday. A big football Friday. Eagles do play on Sunday. We'll see how far the starters do go. And you also have a lot of college football with coming up on Monday, the college football playoff between Oklahoma and Georgia, and then a rematch of the last two national championship games between Dabo Swinney's Clemson team and Nick Saban's Alabama squad. Now joining us on the David Lerner Associates hotline is a good friend of the program, and that's the head coach at Baylor University, and that's Matt Rhule, who's kind enough to join us right now. Matt, appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time, and how are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Well, doing great. Happy New Year. What do you got planned for coming up in 2018, coming up in a few nights?
I just literally my family and I are in the car. We just left the White House in Atlantic City, and we're driving to Cape May. So we figured we'd do a little Jersey New Year and, get away and enjoy each other for a few days, watch some football.
Well, I'll tell you that. You know how to eat well when you're in New Jersey in the Atlantic City area. That's a nice job going to White House subs.
Yeah, it's a stop. It's a must stop anytime I'm in the vicinity.
No question about that. Matt Rhule with us right now. So recap your first year at Baylor. Obviously, you go to territory that you're unfamiliar with. You only had 1 year, but you guys did a very nice job. One win. You did a very nice job recruiting. How about your number one at Baylor?
It was, obviously not a great year in terms of the wins and losses. I think we went from being a pretty bad football team early on to being a team that was, kind of tough to beat down the stretch. And I hope that it, much like our first year at Temple, I hope it, bids well for the future. I think we have 45 guys coming back that have started at least a game, and that's almost unheard of. So we started a bunch of young kids out there and played against some really good teams and got better and better and better as the year went on.
Now, I follow you on social media, so I see a lot of what you're doing to improve the image of Baylor in the community with all that went on there. We talked about the one win on the field, but the recruiting job, I know you guys have a very good staff, being around a lot of those guys at Temple. Just how did you get these recruits to buy in with some of the negative headlines, and what was the message that you were sending to them to make that investment of their 4 years of college and maybe 5 with the Baylor Bears?
Well, I think at the end of the day, Baylor's a wonderful university. It's an elite education. It's a tremendous place. It's good in all sports. I think 17 of 19 sports went to the postseason last year, and so for a lot of kids, especially the kids there locally in Texas, it's a chance to get a great education, to play big time college football, and to really kind of be around the best of the best. And so part of that though is acknowledging the things that happened there before we got there. And there's obviously, negative headlines around it. There's negative recruiting. The kids have to kind of listen to all that. But, where some people see, an obstacle, other people see an opportunity. And I think a lot of the young people that we signed in the last 2 years have recognized that they can come to Baylor. They can be part of the solution. They can be, really the people that, change something that went wrong. And we're looking for special people. And I think we have a great staff. As you said, a lot of guys came with us from Temple. Tremendous relationships. They do a great job, not just with the recruit, but with the recruits' families. And we've had a lot of kids say, you know what, I want to go spend the next 4 or 5 years of my life at Baylor and with this staff.
I know football is football for you, and no matter where you go, you're going to be a successful head coach. But if you look at it, there's a lot of differences between Philadelphia and Waco, Texas, to say the least, and a lot of differences with the program like a Temple to a Baylor. In year number one, making that change that you did, jumping from Temple to Baylor, what did you think you learned the most about yourself in that year one?
I think it was just a challenge for me just to, I always talk about, just sort of controlling the things that you can control and, day by day, just trying to get better. And it's one thing when you say that, but then you have a lot of success and now you start back over, it can be humbling. And so I think for me, if you're going to say it, then you better live it and you better believe in it. And so, I tried to find the joy and the happiness and the real, I guess joy is the right word, joy in coaching. And even though a lot of those games, we weren't able to win, could we get the team better? Could we improve? Could we become a good team? Could we really, at the end of the day, lay the seeds for a future championship? And so I was proud of our coaches, and I think I was, really somewhat proud of myself in that, instead of getting caught up in disappointment and despair and getting despondent and turning on the team, if anything else, I think we got closer as a football program going through that. And I think if you can do that when you're not winning, when you finally do have success, it makes it all the much more better, and it's much easier to sustain success when you have that sort of mindset.
Talking to Matt Rhule right now on the David Lerner Associates hotline on the Zach Gelb Show. You guys played a very close and competitive game up against Oklahoma, who will be playing on Monday up against Georgia. And you know how well that Oklahoma offense can produce. They had 342 rushing yards versus you, and Mayfield was 13-19 with 3 touchdowns. Now, this game, you have a number 1 offense in Oklahoma up against the number 4 defense in Georgia. It should be fascinating to see how this one plays out with the offense that Oklahoma does have.
Yeah, I think when we had the chance to play against Oklahoma, it really was a special offense. And, they got way up on us early. It was like, 28-7 or 28-10. And, we were able to come back and take the lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter to go up 31-28. But in the end, their ability to run the football, was the difference in the football game. And I think that's the one thing that's unique about Oklahoma, in that they're a spread offense, tremendous skill, really one of the best players I've ever been around, coached against in Baker Mayfield. But at the end of the day, they also have the ability to play power football, to run the ball, to be physical, and that to me is their edge. That's what makes them unique.
Talking about Mayfield, and clearly he won the Heisman this year, and I thought it was the right selection by the voters, with the majority going with Baker Mayfield. But I'll tell you this, some people, they get rubbed the wrong way with his personality and his competitive nature. I love watching this kid play football. I know you were very impressed with him, but what stood out the most to you about Baker Mayfield when you got to see him?
Just what you said. Just the effect that he has on his teammates. I know people, talk sometimes about some of the things that he's done, after games and all that. I'd take 100 of him. He's a competitor. He's a warrior. We were able to hit him a couple times, and it only made him play better. And that to me is a sign of a true leader. And so the things I've heard about him is that he just has a tremendous work ethic and really makes all the people around him better. And we kind of went into the game, and just, you hadn't seen him yet, wondering, what's his arm going to be like. And I think he threw an incomplete pass, but he threw it about 78 yards in the air. And when you have that ability to throw the ball that far down the field, just add that on to all his other traits, it does scare you defensively, because no ball is ever too far to get, for him to make the play on.
I remember the game this year, Bedlam, between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, 62-52, just a high-octane offense type of game. But ever since then, Oklahoma's defense in the last 4 games, they've been allowing under 18 points per game. I know you guys were able to generate a lot of success up against their defense, but give me a little scouting report about the Oklahoma defense, which is going to have to make some plays up against Georgia if they're going to want to win this one.
Well, I think the thing about Oklahoma, is that they are a true 3-4 defense. Their outside linebacker, pass rusher, I'm going to try to say his name, Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, is one of the best players in the Big 12, one of the best players we played against. And when you're in that true 3-4, that's designed to really to stop the run, to build, to sort of build a fence up front and play tremendous rush defense. So, when you look at, a running offense like Georgia, I think it's going to be a tremendous matchup. We were able to score against Oklahoma on big plays. We weren't really able to run the football on them. Ours was more of a drop-back game that day. And so I'm anxious to see, can Oklahoma and, the big guys they have in front, because they are big and they are strong and they are stout, what they can do against that really vaunted Georgia running game.
I know when you were in the American Athletic Conference, you had a special bond with the other coaches in the conference. Now being in Big 12 territory, what could you tell us about Lincoln Riley? Because he's done a very fine job with that program, clearly.
Yeah, Lincoln's a great guy. After they won the Big 12 championship, I called him and talked to him that night and wished him the best. He's one of the good guys in coaching. We had a little bit of history together when he was the offensive coordinator at East Carolina, and they came and played us at Temple when they were, I think, ranked number 21, and we were, on that day able to come away with an upset win, a big win for the program. But he's a class guy, he's a good man, and obviously taking over for Bob Stoops, those are big shoes to fill, and I think Lincoln's done a great job of doing so.
Get into the other coaching matchup in the other game, Saban and Sweeney, round 2. You don't get round 3 actually. You don't get a much better coaching matchup than this one coming up on Monday, and it's special to see it for a third time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like those haven't been amazing games either. They've been great games. Obviously, anytime you take Deshaun Watson out of the picture, that's a variable that can't be understated. I know Alabama's had some guys banged up, but Alabama's Alabama. They are dominant. They've been explosive, on offense when they need to be. But really, defensively, you give Coach Saban some time, and I think it's impressive to see the things that he can do. So, it's like sort of an old NFC East matchup. Those two coaches having a chance to go back and look at the past 2 years' film, see what works, see what didn't work, and so I think the tactical part of this game is going to be a really, really interesting piece.
You brought up the analogy of the NFC East. I don't know how much NFL football you got to watch this year, but the Birds have been such a special story where the projections were going into this year, and now they locked up home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They did lose their quarterback in Carson Wentz. How much of the Eagles have you been able to watch this year, Coach?
Well, my son wears an Eagles sweatshirt every day to school.
There you go.
I can watch through him, and most of our coaches are Eagles fans, which is unique down there in Cowboys territory. But I think one of the things I will say, I think I'm on record. I've been on a couple shows when Carson Wentz was first coming out when he was a rookie, and I just think he's just an amazing, special football player. So there's no doubt to me that he'll come back and he'll be a great player moving forward, and he'll come back from this injury. But I think the job that Coach Schwartz has done on defense, the Eagles' ability to play great defense, they're not one-dimensional. And so as they get more comfortable with Nick Foles, behind the helm, I'm sure they'll build some momentum as they head into the playoffs.
Getting back to the bowl conversation, a lot of people talk about playoff expansion. What are your thoughts on the current bowl system that college football has right now?
Well, I was a member of the 1994 Penn State football team that went undefeated, won the Rose Bowl, won the Big Ten, and didn't have a chance to play for the national championship. In fact, didn't even get a piece of the national championship. And so, while no structure is perfect, whether it was the BCS era or now the college football playoff era, each one to me is certainly better than what's happened before. So I see the benefits to it. Would I love to have it expanded? Absolutely. I think expanding it to eight teams would be fun to watch. We give more people opportunities. But at the end of the day, I think the system we have is a good one. I think the four best teams are in fact in there, and I think it's certainly better than what I had to experience.
Did you get a chance to watch the Temple Bowl game by any stretch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've watched as many games this year as we possibly can. We're obviously tremendous Temple fans, rooting for Jeff Collins and rooting for really all the players on that team. And it was fun for us to sit there and watch the bowl game. Really, as much fun as it was to watch the last game of the year that they needed to win and to have a chance to go to the bowl game. And those kids, those seniors, I think what they did was really special, fighting back from being down. I think it shows the character of that senior class, and it shows the great job that Coach Collins did this year.
Now, I know you're very close with Jeff, and you guys have been on the same staff, and you go back many years. Just what's your communication like with Jeff these days? Obviously, you guys are both trying to build something special, but what have your conversations been like with Jeff recently?
Not too much. I mean, it's really just a text message here, a text message there. We're all sort of, once the season starts, you're kind of in this vacuum of coaching your team and fighting to recruit and do all the things you have to do. So, but I did text him here and there throughout the year, as did he, and he's a special guy. I mean, he after they won the last game, they have a chance to go to the bowl game. As they were celebrating, he FaceTimed me in so I could see it, which was fun for us because that senior class, the Jacob Martins and the Sharif Finches and all those guys, Sean Chandlers, they came to Temple at a time where we weren't really successful. They're really the last of the group that came coming off that 2-10 year, and they came based upon faith, and their faith was certainly rewarded, and I'm proud of them, happy for them.
On the way out with Matt Rhule right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Dave Gettleman today was announced as the new general manager of the New York Football Giants. You and Dave did overlap for a year, right, in New York. Is that correct? And if so, tell us a little bit about Dave. Obviously, he has a lot of history with the Giants.
Yeah, he was working in the pro. He was the director for pro personnel. So he'd come in during the week and give us the report on each team. Him and his scouts would give us the report on each team as they as we prepared for the next opponent. And class guy, a football man. One thing that's great about the Giants is they have a way of doing things. The organization has a way of doing things that's first class, and Dave is first class. And I think that's exemplified by what he did in going to Carolina. He didn't go down there and fire the coach and start over. He went down there and just helped build a Super Bowl caliber team. So I'm sure he'll do a tremendous job for New York.
I know you're only there for a year, but what was your biggest takeaway from your time with the Giants as an assistant offensive line coach?
Well, I just think it was being around the people that were there. Whether it was the Mara or the Tisch families, whether it was at the time, Jerry Reese and all the people that worked in scouting, like Dave Gettleman, like Kevin Abrams, like Mark Ross, and then certainly working with the coaching staff, working with Tom Coughlin was to me a once in a lifetime experience. I learned more, from him than I could have ever dreamed I would. Learning from Kevin Gilbride Sr., learning from Pat Flaherty. Just a bunch of tremendous coaches, tremendous people, and for me to have a chance to see what really the best looks like, what a first-rate organization looks like, the way it runs, the way people treat each other, and hopefully we've in some small way tried to exemplify that, the lessons we learned from both the Giants and from Coach Coughlin, and the way that we built Temple and the way that we're trying to build Baylor.
You're no stranger to coaching rumors. Peter Schrager had you as a dark horse candidate for the Giants job. I know you've dealt with this over the last few years when people were coming after you to get new jobs when you were at Temple. Just how do you react to when someone like Peter Schrager, you've been on his show before, names you as a dark horse candidate for a job as prestigious as the Giants?
Well, usually when you won one game, the rumors are the other.
Right? I agree, Matt.
That you're going to be asked to leave. But, I think it's all, obviously anytime your name is brought up somewhere, it's very flattering. And, rumors are rumors and people say this and say that. But, I think anytime that people, respect the job that you've done. And when I say you, I don't mean me. I mean, whether it's Phil Snow or Fran Brown or all the different guys on our staff, the things that we did at Temple and hopefully the way, maybe not the wins that we've had at Baylor, but the way we've handled, one of the most difficult situations, really in recent college football times. I think we've tried to handle everything with class, with dignity, and with respect. And so I think when people hopefully see what we did at Temple and see the way, one of the biggest things for me, Zach, is when people see the way that the Temple players have transitioned to the NFL. That to me is the biggest example of the way we do things, whether it's Nate Hairston or Tyler Matakevich or Matt Ioannidis or Robbie Anderson. All those kids are having such success. And so when someone brings my name up, really they're talking about all those guys. They're talking about Tavon Young. They're talking about all the guys that have come through the program. And so I take it as a compliment and just hope that next year, we're not sitting here at one win.
I asked you a lot of tough questions, so I'll end you on this one. What'd you get today at White House Sub? What kind of sub did you get?
So what we do is, and my wife Julie, so she's a warrior like me. So we went with the ham, we went with the cheesesteak, we went with the meatball sub, and we went with the Italian. And then what we do is we'll cut them all up, and everyone can have a little bit of each. So the ham was really in the car to get the kids to be quiet as we drive to Cape May, and then the other three subs will really be for her. Bryant and I, as we kind of cut them up and do like a little, buffet.
I'll tell you that the cheesesteak there is unbelievable. Every time I'm in that area, I always get the cheesesteak from White House Subs.
Yeah, I like the salt and the salt and pepper and the egg as well. But when you've been in Texas and you get back here, you have to have the cheesesteak right away.
Well, Coach, Happy New Year to you and your family. Say hello to everyone. We appreciate it, and best of luck moving forward. We appreciate it.
My brother, appreciate you, man.
Thanks so much. There's Matt Rhule joining us on the David Lerner Associates hotline. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We'll take a quick break. We're coming on back right after this.